just like, I wouldn't watch the vlog.
I was working in the lab late one night when my eyes beheld an eerie sight. For my monster from his slab began to rise, and suddenly, to my surprise, he did the monster mash. It was a graveyard smash. It caught on in a flash. He did the monster mash from my laboratory in the castle east to the master bedroom where the vampires feast. The ghouls all came out from their humble abodes to get a jolt from my electrodes. They did the monster mash. It was a graveyard smash. It caught on in a flash. He did the monster mash. The zombies were having fun. The party had just begun. The guests included Wolfman, Dracula, and his son. The scene was rocking, all were digging the sounds. Igor on chains, backed by his baying hounds. The coffin bangers were about to arrive with their vocal group, the Crypt Kicker 5. They did the monster mash. It was a graveyard smash. It caught on in a flash. He did the monster mash. Out from his coffin, Drac's voice did ring. It seems like he was troubled by just one thing. He opened the lid and he shook his fist and said, "Whatever happened to my Transylvania twist?" They did the monster mash. It was a graveyard smash. It caught on in a flash. They did the monster mash. Now everything's cool, Drac's part of the band. And our monster mash is the hit of the land. For you, the living, this mash was meant to. So when you get to our door, say Jay and Kyle sent you. And do the monster mash. It is a graveyard smash. It caught on in a flash. And do the monster mash.
Hi!
Hi.
Hi. What were you talking about? You saying you're gonna throw up?
No, it's like, well, I was saying like, I feel like I have to burp, but you can't, but it's not there. Yeah.
Like that.
I can't do it.
Like that.
No, it's,
Wait.
there's this whole thing. It's like the sound that someone makes when they're about to throw up. You need to back away, and it's like.
Anyway, welcome back to Van Philosophy. We're doing a topic today. We're doing Halloween themes this month. So the next vlog we'll be doing Halloween
Something else.
themed something. If you have any suggestions, make sure you let us know in the comments. Hello to everybody that's tuning in here. Spider-Man, Victoria, Sherry, and Spider-Man, and Spider-Man, and Spider-Man, and Spider-Man.
We're like a little
Also
dog.
Spider-Man. I don't know if you noticed if the Spider-Man was here.
Is it the Black Parade lyrics?
Yeah.
That's what that looks like.
Yeah.
Cool.
But we're talking about the Halloween, like the OG Halloween.
The
monsters.
Halloweenies.
Yeah, the Halloweenies.
Yeah.
They have jamborees every once in a while, but not often, not since probably 2002. But maybe they'll come back. But before we get into the topic, what have you been up to?
You know, it's like it's fall. Do you ever like you feel the urge to kind of like change with the season? You know, like you gotta like rearrange your furniture.
No.
Like I do. So like, but I only like move the couch like a little bit.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Well, my couch moves a little bit all the time. Just a little bit. But then it goes right back where it was supposed to go.
I have a funny story.
Yeah.
It was my wife's birthday, and I never know what to get her. And it seems like anytime like I'll get her something, you know, it's always like there's something a little wrong with it. But anyway, I decided that I was gonna like hide upstairs and like play piano and like get some roses and candles and like have this like sentimental thing.
Right.
And so I blacked out the house and I got candles like leading up to the upstairs, you know. And I like drew a bath and had a glass of wine waiting.
Did you finally learn that like soft, seductive version of WAP on piano?
No, but that would have been awesome.
Could have been cool.
No, I was just trying to do like just simple melody stuff, and like
That's where it went wrong.
So I hear the door open, you know, and I hear like rustling around, and for like 15 minutes I'm up there just like, I'm like she's gonna come up here in a second.
Yeah.
And then finally she comes up and she's like, oh, she's like, I thought like the power went out and you were like working on something, so I didn't want to bother
You didn't like leave a note or anything like come
No,
upstairs?
I was like, no. It's like there's candles leading up the stairs. Like I thought it was obvious,
Right.
but like it was hilarious. We
That's
laughed
pretty
about
funny.
it.
That's pretty funny.
So yeah, that's what I did last week.
Yeah.
What have you been up to?
Not that. I actually did finally learn the piano version of WAP and I played it for myself the other day.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. No, well, I've been doing stuff at the shop. Our t-shirts finally came in, the logo and stuff that you did.
Yeah,
those are
it
cool.
looks good.
Been doing that. Doing a lot of other personal gatherings of things. That, by the way, I am putting up a post in Patreon probably within the next day or so. That's kind of got some personal stuff in there, so you guys can know why I've been behind on some things and why it's been taking me a little while to get to some stuff. But yeah, the store's been going good. We were doing some release events this weekend, like tomorrow and on Saturday. But we're gonna be in Alabama on Saturday.
Yeah, we're gonna be at Warehouse 207.
207.
in Scottsboro.
You had to read that.
Well, I mean, I make notes for myself.
Yeah.
But I think I would. The funny thing is though, is that it's a new venue for us.
Yeah. Same people.
But it's the same people. They bought a new venue.
Yeah.
So we're excited to be back.
Yeah.
And it's been a long time. I think since we've just been
been a
in
while.
Alabama.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
So, and then later this month, we booked one more date. They're extending their concert series in Dahlonega. So we got one more date at Shenanigans.
And if it doesn't rain or anything, we're gonna do the full show kind of deal there again. So we did that once, and it went well.
It was a lot of fun doing the full show there.
I mean, like it's kind of like but it's for funsies, you know, it's for funsies. So that's cool. We did finish. By the way, update real quick. We did finish the music for the new cover video. We plan on shooting it soon. We were gonna do it this Sunday, but we can't do this Sunday. There's some stuff going on at the store. But hopefully, sometime next week, I can talk Kyle into coming over here and we can shoot it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but let us know how you guys are doing. But let's get into. Here we go. Let's get into the topic, man. Because like we always talk about what are like the main monster staples in Halloween, and it's definitely vampire, werewolf, and zombies.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could say mummies.
Yeah, mummies and goblins, but I don't even know what a goblin is.
Yeah.
Maybe we should have put that on the list
So we can know what a goblin.
so we can know what it was. But
Yeah.
I was gonna be like, we're gonna do a top 10. And then
But
I
we
was
know
like,
what- we
we'll
know-
do a top 5, and it was like there's actually a lot of lore and stuff to go over. So we're gonna.
I never
we're gonna
thought
go over
about
those three.
goblins. I never thought goblins was one.
Ghosts and goblins. I remember.
Well,
hearing
yeah,
about that all
ghosts.
the time,
Yeah,
you know?
that's true. But we all know where ghosts come from. We know where mummies come from.
Yeah, we've done a lot of ghost stuff.
But where do the ideas of zombies, vampires, and werewolves come from?
Yeah.
So
All right, so vampires are classified as evil mythological beings that roam around at night, searching to feed upon human blood.
also really attractive people that sit in a group and lay
Yeah.
on one another.
Like this is what vampires have become.
This
now.
is
the
vampires.
modern vampire. And I was because this is from True Blood, and I was like, I saw that and I was like, we have to show this photo. Because this is what a vampire is.
They're at the. I can't tell like what they're seeing, but probably the bottom right is like she's like, "Gonna come get ya."
It's always so funny. I don't know if you ever had to like pose for like family photos with like someone hires a professional photographer.
Yeah.
And they're like, I remember like the last time we did it, like I had to just stand so weird.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? But it actually turned out like it didn't look like I was standing awkwardly.
I mean, what's her arm resting on?
That's got to be a green screen.
Well, yeah.
And like she's probably like sitting in a chair. Like her arms are probably resting on something.
Oh, like they took pictures of each of them individually and then put them in there.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Like it has to be because well, like you're just sitting like.
Yeah, that's not a thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, vampires. Yes, they are. I mean, they do look like this now, but that's not.
Yeah. So
they are where they come.
Vampires were popularized by Bram Stoker in 1897 with his book Dracula. I think this was the actual. That's what the book looked like when it was first released.
I'd rather have a book that looks like that.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
I have a copy of it, and I don't like. It's a cheap copy. It doesn't look like super cool, but I remember. Did you read the book?
I've not read the book. I've done the audio tape though, but I don't really count that.
Right.
But I have listened to the whole story.
It's so good in the beginning, and then I feel like it kind of like it loses something.
Right.
But I remember I was like, why have I never read this? Because the first chapter, you're like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
Yeah.
But it's a classic. That's like how we view vampires.
Right.
Basically.
And it's how it's how it came into popular culture.
Yeah.
Is really where Bram Stoker.
Yeah. So the general characteristics that we think of like they drink human blood, they're weakened by sunlight, they can morph into nocturnal creatures like a bat or a wolf. And have super strength and agility, and and they don't have a reflection when they look in the mirror, and they don't cast a shadow. Like all of that stuff comes from Bram Stoker, kind of like solidified that. So a lot of people think that he took his ideas from Vlad Dracul, which is he's known as Vlad the Impaler.
Yeah,
I think we got a photo of him.
Yeah, I have him on a T-shirt, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So he was born in Transylvania, Romania.
This dude was a mean guy.
That photo does not look mean though.
No.
He was just like, hey guys,
yeah.
hello. I was thinking about impaling you.
Hello, I want to stick your head on a pike.
So this was like he ruled. I think it's 1456 to 62. But he earned his nickname because his favorite way to execute people was impaling them on a wooden stake.
Right.
And so it was believed that he would like to eat dinner while people were being executed. Like it was like dinner and a show for him. And then they said I don't know if this is confirmed or anything, but that he would use blood as a dipping sauce. And
nah.
I don't know. I don't know. I wasn't around.
Right.
But yeah, that's not a confirmed thing. But that's probably rumors that were started. Yeah, he's crazy.
Right. Now he wasn't killing his own people or anything. I think there was actually invaders coming in, and he was trying to ward them off and protect his people. Because to his people, he was actually a good man.
I don't know much about him, but that kind of makes sense. I remember that was always a joke. Vlad the Impaler probably stopped more killing.
Right.
By
sure.
scaring the shit out of people.
Yeah, but the thing is the lore and everything around this guy. That's what really drove. The fear around him, so it kept everybody at bay, all the invaders at bay.
Yeah.
But it also is what drove these ideas of vampirism and things.
Yeah.
There was
this supernatural monster that rules over Transylvania.
Myth of a man. Yes.
So superstition of vampires dates back to the Middle Ages, so 500 AD into the 1400s, and a lot of people think because there was the bubonic plague and and diseases that would cause bleeding from the mouth and eyes.
Yeah, tuberculosis. I think it was one of the main things that they would find their loved ones kind of in this frozen state with blood.
That was more likely that was later because that was definitely in the United States. But so also there's this disease that's existed through history called, and I hope I say it? Porphyria, I think it's pronounced. And I think we have a photo of it. And like it's like this one's gross. So just so you know.
Everybody, look.
So this is a blood disorder, and it's very rare. But it causes blisters on the skin when the skin is exposed to sunlight. And what's crazy about it is what relieves those symptoms is ingesting blood. So it might be because of like an iron deficiency or like some nutrient that's prevalent in blood.
I did not know about this.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god, that's so like that's a lot where that comes from. Is like,
well, and look at the teeth too, like how they're sharp and
yeah.
Huh.
So yeah, it's an awful blood disorder.
Yeah.
But it's very much like the vampire like can't go out in the sun or it'll burn him.
Right.
And needs to drink blood and like. But yeah, it's a porphyria, Porphyria, and it's
Spider-Man says he's British. Look at his teeth.
Oh, that's so mean.
I don't make fun of Herman.
But you mentioned tuberculosis. So in the United States, there was like huge outbreaks of tuberculosis in the 1800s, and so often superstitious townfolk would blame tuberculosis on a vampire that was pretending to be dead. That was kind of like a superstition that existed. Like anytime they called it consumption, or I think they called it a couple of different things. Right. But I know consumption was one of them. So they thought that like someone had the disease and was spreading it, and they died, but they didn't really die. They were like sleeping in the grave and waiting to come out late at night. I think we have like a drawing or something.
I've got here this one.
Do we? I thought we had like tuberculosis and vampires. Maybe not.
Do not right here. Yep.
Vampire. Yeah.
Got it.
One. Anyway, this was like a drawing from an old drawing. But anyway, so bodies would be exhumed and judged on signs of vampirism, and that was like the case of this lady that died. Her name was Mercy Brown, or this girl that died, and she was exhumed and she showed no signs of decay. And so the town freaked out and exhumed her body and drove a stake through her heart and then burned her body. And I think we have a picture of her grave. But what they probably didn't realize is that she died in the middle of a very cold New England winter.
Yeah.
And was not buried in the ground. She was in an above ground tomb. So she was
frozen.
Frozen solid.
Yeah.
Didn't show a lot of signs of decay after a few days. So they were like, but the whole town was like, it's her fault. She's the vampire. We have to drive a stake through her heart and burn her.
Dude, I love like old, I don't know what this is about me, but I love like old gravestones, old like tombstones and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, they just look so cool.
Yeah, it seemed like they had a lot. Well, it's like hand carved.
Yeah.
Too. It's not like laser printed like it is now. Or,
right.
So, yeah, like I said, it was probably because like it was very cold, so her body didn't decay.
Right.
But that is where the myth of the vampires sleep in coffins comes from. Is like those kind of stories of exhuming dead bodies to see if they're actually a vampire.
Right.
So all of the classic stories of Dracula sleeping in a coffin and stuff like that.
Where did they get the idea to actually drive a stake in somebody's heart?
So I'm imagining that comes from Vlad the Impaler, because he would use wooden stakes to impale the people he was executing. So I'm imagining that is where that comes from.
What about garlic?
I don't know where garlic comes from. Garlic...
Or maybe that's all from like the original. So what's crazy is like you have to figure out like what period of time things are coming in, because like all of our stuff is like a combination of like all of it. So like back in like the 1800s, they might not have thought garlic.
Well, I know garlic is like a natural antiseptic, and I know like if you're not feeling well and you make like fire water and you use like cayenne pepper and garlic and apple cider vinegar. I know like
I always thought fire water is like a form of alcohol. I think that's like alcohol made by like the.
It is. I don't know.
Indigenous
We always just call
certain
it that. It's
indigenous
like the
tribes and stuff.
concoction that grandma would make, like if you're sick.
Yeah.
Some of my fire.
Like here, have some of this.
It's really just whiskey and cayenne pepper. You know.
But no, I'm imagining that like because it's kind of antibacterial, it may have helped with like symptoms of tuberculosis.
Yeah.
Or like people that were sick and they suspected that they were a vampire.
Right.
And so they give them garlic and then their symptoms get better. I'm imagining it has to have something to do with that, is what I would speculate. But I didn't really find like, you know, a definite story that like kind of confirms that. But that is in the book Dracula. I think they would like they put garlic in the rooms or whatever.
I believe so. Yeah. That's interesting, man. Like I never knew that stuff about the disease stuff. Let's take one more look at that because that is crazy.
Yeah, I found that and I was like, oh wow,
Look at that.
That's definitely describing a vampire.
And like when was it like really rampant? Like when was that?
I don't know when it was really. It still exists today, and I don't know what causes it. We might have to like maybe we'll Google that later, or y'all can Google that like what actually causes it.
Yeah, if you guys figure out that like whenever it was like first came about, or maybe like it was like widespread at one point, or what's going on, what causes it, something. We would love to know any kind of information on that. It's like porphyria.
Porphyria. It's kind of spelled like porphyria.
Yeah. Strange. Okay.
So, moving on to werewolves. This is kind of funny. So
first off, what's up, Steve?
Oh, Steve's here.
Yeah, Steve's here.
So werewolf means man wolf. So were or ver in like Germanic and Nordic languages sound like that. Werewolf. Were and wolf together. And then woman wolf would be wife wolf or whiff wolf. So it's funny, like a lot of people, they say like, you know, like the word woman comes from the word man, and that's actually like man actually means human, and the word wife comes from Nordic and Germanic languages that mean woman.
Yeah.
So like man and woman actually don't really have like common syntax, if that makes sense or whatever. So anyway, I thought that was interesting. But early legends of werewolves come from Mesopotamia and ancient Greece is the earliest records that we have. So Ishtar was a goddess in like during the Epic of Gilgamesh, like that story. And she apparently had the power to turn men into wolves at will. And I guess that there was a story of like a lover that jilted her, so she cursed him to be a wolf. And then also there's a story of Zeus that like turned a whole family into wolves because they angered him. And I think it had something to do with like they made a human sacrifice, and he didn't want a human sacrifice. He wanted a bull or a lamb or something like that.
Right.
So he was angered and turned them into wolves. So those were like the older stories. But also in Nordic Nordic folklore, there's a story called the Saga of the Volsungs, and it's about a family that discovers these magic wolf pelts, and if they put on the wolf pelt, it will turn them into a wolf for 10 days. And I don't know if it's like when they take it off and they have to wait a little while and then put it back on. I didn't really find out what it was, but it was these magic wolf pelts that they would put on, and it could turn them into a wolf. So what was funny, or what I thought was cool, is in the video game Skyrim, I think we have a photo of it, there's this faction that you can join in the game. Like there's all these different like factions you can join depending on what type of character you are.
This year?
Yeah. So the top photo there is from the Saga of the Volsungs, but the bottom photos are from the game Skyrim, if you guys play that game and remember. But there is...
Nobody plays Skyrim.
There's a dragon priest in there that you have to beat, and if you kind of choose that faction to go with the companions, because they actually, like the secret reveal, spoiler, it's like 20-year-old game, they're actually all werewolves.
Yeah.
And the Volsung mask actually like gives you abilities to carry more weapons. And the idea is if you join that faction, you're probably like a tank build. So you have like lots of heavy armor and heavy weapons. So it's like the Volsung masks helps the werewolves. So that's kind of like a little Nordic folklore that they injected into the game.
It's all a remake.
Yeah. I mean, the whole game is Nordic folklore,
Yeah.
but I thought that was kind of interesting that like they made the Volsung mask like kind of benefit that style of character.
Right. So we've got they come from like Greek and Mesopotamian culture. That's when we first know.
That's when we first know about like humans turning into wolves that are
Okay.
written about. But
then-
Nordic folklore kind of made it into like more of like I'm going to do this at will, or like it's not like just a curse that some god put on you.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you're a wolf forever now. It's more of like I'm a human, but I can turn into a wolf if I put on this magic pelt, or if the moon is a certain way, or whatever it is. That started coming more out of Nordic culture. But also, it moved into France and Germany. There were a few serial killers in France in the 1500s. One was Pierre Burgot, Michael Verdun, and Giles Garnier. And they Giles Garnier lived later, but Pierre and I guess it's Michel.
Or Michael.
Or Michael.
That's what we say in
Michael.
America. I'm just kidding.
Anyway, there was like a group of vicious murders of children. And so when they finally caught the murderers, they said that they were given this special ointment by the devil that could turn them into a wolf. Mm-hmm. And so they confessed to the murders and they burned them at the stake. And then years later, there was a guy, Giles Garnier, who like said the same thing. Like, I made a deal with the devil, and he gave me this potion that I could put on to turn me into a wolf. So they executed them. But in Germany, which I guess this photo here, you know, like fairy tales always have like a really dark story behind them.
Oh yeah.
So-
So the originals are always like
Yeah.
crazy.
So do you know the story of like what's behind Little Red Riding Hood?
No.
And it's actually
I think I've heard it once before, but I can't remember.
it's actually a true story. So there was a series of murders in Bedburg, Germany. And there was this old man that like went out into the woods. His name was Peter Stubbe. And they like thought he was weird. And so they're like, I bet you it's him. So there was this group of hunters that like went out and watched him. And they like attacked him and captured him and beat him and brought him back to town. And they said, we saw him turn into a wolf and turn back into a human. So like, he's obviously the killer. And they got him like through torture, got him to confess that he had a magic belt that turned him into a wolf, and that he did the murders. But more than likely, they like caught just some innocent old guy, and he was the scapegoat, and they like tortured him until he confessed to what they were saying, like, yeah, you're half a wolf man, right? You know,
Right.
like kind of thing. But the whole idea that like the hunters come in and save. Or a hunter comes in and saves Little Red Riding Hood from the big bad wolf, like comes from that kind of like messed up story of like this town probably just lynching this dude that didn't do anything. So there's that.
There's that. Yeah.
So
What is this wolf doing? Is it going down the well?
yeah, I guess so. It's like it shows like like people chasing this wolf and.
You know,
This
this
was
has
like
to
a
mean
half wolf, half
something because like
human.
there's like the guys with the pitchfork and the baseball bat, and then this wolf
Well,
is
there's,
kind
like,
of almost
German
going in
written,
this well. But then there's a guy being strung up over here.
Yeah.
Like, what does it all mean, man? It doesn't mean anything.
Werewolves.
Werewolves, man. Yeah.
Okay, so there was another story that happened in Germany of King George went out into the woods one day and he saw this boy that was on all fours and was naked and was kind of like barking. And so he went, it must be a person that escaped that was raised by wolves. And so he like took this boy in and like kind of had him as a pet because he like kind of acted very canine. So that was like the story, like King George has this like human wolf as a pet. But what historians think happened is they think that this boy actually had a very rare disease called Pitt-Hopkins syndrome, which is something that there's only 500 people now known in the world that have it. And I actually have a family member that has it. It was...
You have a family member?
Yeah, I have a family member who has it,
Yeah. What all does it do?
So they discovered, like they officially like know that this was a syndrome in 1978. So there was a lot of people throughout history of like, it's like the boy that was raised by wolves. It's like a common theme. They think that it was actually undiagnosed Pitt-Hopkins syndrome. Someone with Pitt-Hopkins syndrome like can't form words, but they do use their voice to communicate, but they're considered nonverbal. They also it often is accompanied by epilepsy. So there's seizures that are involved, but there's also like very distinct facial features. Like with a lot of syndromes, is like there's you can kind of tell like, oh, this person has this syndrome just by the features of their face.
Yeah.
So one thing with Pitt-Hopkins syndrome that a lot of people describe is that you kind of look a little wolf-like. And it's also accompanied by difficulty breathing. And then obviously like there's intellectual challenges that go with having all those things. But at the same time, like my experience with someone with Pitt-Hopkins is it's like you're able to communicate with the person.
Yeah.
And you can tell that they understand what you're saying. And so like it's kind of understandable throughout history because this was only diagnosed in the 70s. And I know my family member, they didn't know what she had for years and years and years and years. It wasn't until like the mid 2000s that like where they knew like this is what you have. But it's kind of understandable that someone would say like, oh, like you must have like spent time with wolves because of how you try to communicate with other people and your mannerisms and things like that.
Right.
So it was like I found this and I was like, oh, that's so, because it's a very, very rare disease. Like I said, I think there's only 500 people that have it in the world right now out of 9 or 10 billion or whatever.
Is it like a brain, so it's like a brain disorder kind of thing, and obviously it affects
I don't know exactly what
facial
it is.
features, but like you were saying, there's other syndromes and stuff that do the same type thing.
Yeah, like it's considered a syndrome.
Yeah.
So like Down syndrome, how like a lot of times you might be able to recognize that someone has Down syndrome.
Yeah.
Pitt-Hopkins is similar in that way, where you just have kind of, it's not like it's not as specific as Down syndrome.
Yeah.
But as you can see in the photo, like a lot of photos of people that have it, like it does kind of almost seem wolf-like.
Yeah.
Just like something in their eyes or something. And like I said, it kind of breaks my heart to think like, oh, they thought like, this person that has this syndrome, like, must be like half wolf or something. Yeah, it's crazy that I didn't know that was something that like existed throughout history.
Right.
My understanding, I thought it was just kind of this relatively new
I mean, there are
thing.
people that choose to be wolves.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
But yeah,
the wolf man.
Right.
You know?
Right, yeah.
Dude, that dude, what was that? His name was Wolfman. He's like that camera guy or whatever. It's like, if you live in Georgia, you know what I'm talking about. If you guys know the company, please comment it. It was something camera. The Wolfman, come see the Wolfman. And he looked like a Wolfman.
Was
Gray
it like
hair.
prosthetics or something?
No.
Oh, well, you know what? So there are other things throughout history, and there's other disorders and diseases that exist today that people might have attributed to like misdiagnosing people as a werewolf. But one is called hypertrichosis, which is just excessive hair growth.
Right.
So like that could be something, people like if you have hypertrichosis, people would be like, oh, you must be a wolf because like you got, hair growing out of like,
Right,
know,
like
you
under
know,
your eyes.
under your eyes and,
Yeah.
and
Well, that's people would have that and be like part of like freak shows and stuff like that, and be like the Wolf Man.
Yeah. There's one actually, like you said, like people that choose to be it. I'm sure like there's some people that they're just like, I just want to be a wolf, and they choose it, and there's nothing medically wrong, but there is a psychological condition called lycanthropy, perhaps, and it's a disorder where the person believes that they are turning into a wolf. And it's a very specific psychological condition that's been classified. And also, rabies is another one. And that's probably just because, like, wolves are able to get rabies and humans are. So, rabies
I remember
will make
whenever I was a kid, like,
make
I'd be
you
scared of, like the dog bites you, you're going to get rabies. It's
Yeah.
going to kind of make you like a dog. I remember, like, thinking that when I was little.
Yeah. And, I mean, I don't necessarily think that rabies will make you like a dog, but like if a person or a dog is rabid, they're going to act like they have rabies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was probably something that throughout history that it seems like a lot of people that like were probably having a really awful time. Like they're like, oh, they're a werewolf, and like not like, oh no, we need to take care of them and figure out what's wrong.
Right. So where does all the other stuff come from? Like.
So
change it in the full moon and at night, or you know what I mean? Like, where does all that stuff come from?
So I think a lot of times, like with general like monsters that come out at night, I think a lot of it is because a lot of people didn't know what was happening, so they would assume it must have been happening while they were asleep. So like when there's a tuberculosis outbreak, like obviously there's not some vampire that's roaming around during the day.
Right.
It must be at night. Same thing with werewolves, and like wolves, they say, oh, the wolves, they all howl at the moon, so there must be, this person seems very wolf-like, so obviously they must come out when the wolves come out. But one thing that I thought I was really curious about was the whole silver bullet thing, about how a silver bullet is what you need to kill a werewolf, and I had to look for a while, but someone, I think it was like on a couple Reddit forums, they said, take a look at old alchemy symbols and see if you can figure it out. So I found like an old example of an alchemy table, and like, so.
Wait, hold on. It was a furniture store?
What was?
Donna and the Wolfman. Yeah, it was Donna, and I remember that. So it was a furniture. See, I thought it was something camera. That's funny.
Oh, this was
That's
like
totally what I'm talking
this
about.
This is like a local thing.
Yeah, but you'd see it on the commercials, because like back in the day when you just had,
Well, I didn't grow up here.
TV commercials. But you know what I'm talking about, when you just had TV commercials, you didn't have like...
Yeah, and you'd see like the local
stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, Dawn on the Wolfman. Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about, Sherry. Exactly what I was talking about. All right, go ahead, sorry.
Someone's like, a silver bullet would kill anyone.
Yeah.
But it was the idea that like werewolves were these mythical creatures, so you might... a conventional weaponry would not work. You need something special. So if you look at the old alchemy table, like gold looks like a sun, and iron, I guess it was supposed to look like Mars, and Mercury is supposed to look like the god Mercury or something. That doesn't look like that to me. But anyway, the silver one looks like a crescent moon. So the idea was that gold comes from the sun, and silver comes from the moon. And if you need to kill a creature that's powered by the moon, you need moon metal. So the idea that like a silver sword or a silver bullet is that's what you needed to kill a werewolf, because it's like, Superman is allergic to kryptonite because he's from Krypton.
Right.
So a werewolf is allergic to silver because they get their power from the moon.
See, I would think it would be like the opposite.
It just makes them stronger.
Yeah. Like, it's like, oh, you're powered by the moon, so let me shoot you with more moon juice.
That was probably the lie that like the man told like 29 days out of the month or whatever.
Right.
He's like, yeah, you see a werewolf, like shoot him with silver. Weird. And then like they're like, why is he getting stronger?
Yeah. So bizarre. Bizarro. So that's pretty much what we know about werewolves, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, I always thought, like, werewolves, they wanted to go to high school and, like, make friends and stuff and wear, like, Letterman's jackets
And just fit in.
You know?
Yeah.
That's like my idea
Yeah.
of what they are.
Probably.
Yeah.
They just wanted to be understood, but everyone thought they were a werewolf, and they really just had like lycanthropy.
But really, it was just like a teen wolf.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm getting your reference there.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm sorry, I should have said that. I'd be like, what do you mean?
Yeah,
What do you mean? What is that from?
What was the actor's name? It's the same guy that played Marty.
Michael J. Fox.
Michael J. Fox, yeah. All right, so moving on. Next, we have zombies.
What's in your head? In your head, zombie.
I like how the intro pictures you sent me are like these silly ones.
Yeah.
Zombies.
So a zombie, as we know, is an undead, decaying corpse that desires human flesh, specifically brains.
I know we haven't gotten totally into it, but can I take a guess of where zombies come from?
Yeah.
Like voodoo stuff?
That's exactly where it comes from.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So now, older ones, obviously like there's like older religions like in Hebrew and Christianity that one day the dead are going to be resurrected and judged by the Almighty.
Sure, right.
So the idea that like, there are people that are dead but maybe they're not really dead. They're just kind of in limbo or something.
Sure,
like
that's
that.
something like any like human could just come up with.
Yeah, it's like it's a very old idea
Yeah.
of being resurrected from the grave.
If I knew nothing and I was just out in the woods, I'd come up with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it seems like to be a very human thing.
Yeah.
But also, there are some Greek origins. There were actually a lot of graves in ancient Greece were found that were like covered with boulders, or like corpses that were chained down, or like
Well, it's because they weren't dead when they put them in there.
Yeah, I was like, maybe that. But
Yeah.
also, like, there's writings of, I think we have a picture, actually, of, like, this, like, crushed corpse of, like, they, like, put boulders on it.
Sherry here says, well, I like The Walking Dead and iZombie. You know, I tried to watch The Walking Dead, and I wasn't into it.
Did you not like it?
I didn't like it.
liked
Did you like it? iZombie was cool. At least it was interesting.
I only watched the first couple seasons, and then I don't know if I lost interest or I just like ran out of time, or I was like, I don't know if I have the time to invest in because I watched it late.
Right.
Like I didn't watch it when it first came out. So I think it was like there was already 10 seasons out when I started watching it.
Right.
So I was like, I don't know if I can
do it.
I don't know if I can do it. But the first few seasons I remember being like, this is a pretty good show.
I didn't even make it through. Like, I watched like maybe 2 episodes.
Oh yeah.
And I was like,
I think from what I remember, it's kind of a slow burn.
yeah.
But it's a zombie story. They're all they're all out there and they're trying to survive. And then this happens, and then they meet so and so, and is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? I don't know. Yeah, it's like definitely like
Yeah.
a very typical zombie apocalypse story.
Here says, I am prepared for the zombie apocalypse. Yeah. Like, get all the ideas and stuff from like everything they do in the show.
But apparently, there was a time in ancient Greece where people were terrified of the dead being resurrected by Pluto or Hades. I guess technically it's Pluto. Hades is where you go,
Right.
and Pluto is the god.
Yeah.
They would like take countermeasures of like if they thought that this person was going to come back, they would like put boulders on their grave and or put chains on their coffin or whatever they had to do. So that is something. But the idea of like the modern zombie comes from West Africa and Haiti, and there's a
Wait, real quick before we talk about that, what's going on in this picture?
It's like a crushed corpse, I guess. Like this was a corpse that, like, obviously the boulder's been removed.
Oh, okay, so they were like directly under the boulder.
Yeah, and they were like,
Huh.
This guy isn't gonna pop up.
Yeah.
And I guess like for a while that was like a common fear that like that could happen.
Yeah.
So yes. So one idea is that the idea of the zombie in like some West African folklore is if someone is very mistreated or enslaved, that like it's like divine retribution that they will come back as a zombie and like get the living that mistreated them. So a lot of that may have come from stories of like, if you purchased a slave, don't mistreat them because they might come back as a zombie.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of one, a tactic that may have been used for like superstitious slave owners of like, don't mistreat them because they know voodoo and they'll come back and, they have this whole culture and they can do things. And, but yes, another thing is that came out of West Africa and later Haiti. There was practitioners of voodoo called bokors, and they would catch puffer fish, and they would extract, I think it's called tetrodotoxin, I think is the name of the chemical, and it's like a very, very powerful neurotoxin that can kill you outright, very quickly. But
I believe people like in certain cultures will actually eat blowfish. Right? In Japan? Is it Japan?
Yeah, I think I know you can eat blowfish.
Yeah,
it's
but
like,
you can't eat that certain part.
You can't
so you have to have like a professional prepare it for you.
Yeah, it's like, and you can eat, a cobra. You just can't eat the venom. And but yes, people have been handling them and know what to do. But it's a very, very powerful neurotoxin. And so what these people, these bokors figured out is that you can have certain doses that will do different things. So a high dose of this neurotoxin will kill a person immediately, but a very low dose will cause someone to have trouble walking and trouble speaking and confusion and difficulty breathing.
Right.
So you might just walk around like a zombie if you've been given just a small dose of this neurotoxin. But also, if given a sub-lethal dose, just like it's not enough to kill you, but it's almost there, it'll put you into a coma. And when you awake from the coma, you'll be very groggy and not be able to speak very well and move very rigidly until...
It's like me in the morning.
Until the neurotoxin metabolizes.
Right.
So it was this idea of this woman can curse you and kill you and you'll come back as a zombie. But this was actually something that would occur, and but it was because of this poison that existed. So there was superstition around it, but it was obviously something that you could see, be like, yeah, don't mess with that lady because she'll curse you and you'll come back as a zombie. And obviously there's probably some people that were what's the word I'm looking for? Forever debilitated because they were poisoned with this neurotoxin, where they may have not recovered fully from it. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of all of those things are where the idea of modern zombie comes from. I don't really know.
This is a picture of that tetrodotoxin stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and it comes from a puffer fish.
It's citrate free.
Right. You gotta have it citrate free.
Yeah.
Now the whole brain eating thing, I'm not really sure where that comes from. I couldn't find a whole lot historically.
If you remember though, even here recently, whenever that person did bath salts in Florida, and he was a zombie, and he was actually eating people.
Yeah.
So maybe there's something in here that causes you to eat them.
You have a weird neurotoxin, and I know it says confusion, so maybe you're just so confused.
I thought your brain was a potato.
Yeah,
yeah. I love potatoes.
I do remember that story.
Mm-hmm. He's eating a dude's face.
Yeah, because he just went crazy off of whatever's in bath salts, not actual bath salts,
right?
But whatever that.
But maybe on this neurotoxin or something. Maybe we're just making stuff up, but maybe that's what it did. Maybe it was it got you to that point where you're just going crazy and you're just eating somebody's face. And then when you see somebody's eating their face, you're like, what are they going for?
They're going for it. Really, they're just biting people because they're crazy.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, hey, what's going on?
Right.
This is the people that lead with their face.
Right.
And you're like, what are you doing?
See, I thought too, zombie stuff also came from some of the rabies stuff, but maybe I was wrong with that. Did you guys think that?
I didn't find anything about rabies. I found like the neurotoxin thing.
Yeah.
And I saw the old like lore from West Africa, like, hey, don't mistreat these people because they'll come back. And obviously, like, you know, there's a lot of resurrection stories throughout history.
Sure.
I guess rabies, yeah, because like you get disoriented and you get rigid.
Yeah.
As soon as you get like lockjaw and all that stuff.
And you're like foaming at the mouth.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, someone with rabies or an animal, yeah, they foam.
Yes. Sherry says yes. See?
That totally makes sense.
Yeah. But that's where these characters that we all know and love from Halloween come
We all
from.
love them.
We love them.
The endearing zombie.
I'm actually going to be a vampire this year for Halloween.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I'm going to be very attractive. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, now, I mean, you gotta be.
Think about it. No, I'm just, I'm going to be like one of these people. Like, I'm going to be...
So, like,
I'm going to be like that guy
like
there.
the sexy thing.
Just like leaning over, being like, yes.
I remember that came from Bram Stoker because he had those 3 other vampires living with him.
Yeah.
That were like kind of trying to seduce. What's the main character's name? Can't remember his name.
Jonathan
Harker. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's there, but I'm imagining that like that might come from like an incubus or succubus, like those type of like the like demon lore that's like mixing in with it, where it's like, oh, and they'll make you think everything's okay and everything's gonna be great, and they bite you. You know?
Right. Which the incubus and succubus lore stuff's really interesting too.
It is. I thought I wanted to be like, oh, let's do like devils and stuff too, because that's a really popular one. Because I know a lot of that comes from like that kind of lore. But
Wasabi, what's up, Rico?
We've went an hour just on those 3, so maybe we'll have to have like a continued.
Sherry says here, Jasper is my man. Oh man, it is strange. But if you guys have any other inputs and stuff about what we've been talking about, put it in the comments. If you have any other questions or things, and also, not next week, but the week following, we are doing another Halloween themed thing for the
Vlogcast.
So if you have any ideas for it, give us some suggestions. Mm-hmm. Let's hear them.
It has to be Halloweeny.
Halloweeny. All right, but before we get into that, to our wrap up, I want to remind you guys that Kyle made a new thing.
Yeah, hey,
Look.
we got hoodies in.
Yeah.
And also, like, hoodies are in this picture, but we also have, like, some long-sleeve baseball tee type things.
Yeah.
And there's just a few joggers as well.
Yeah.
So you can get some nice warm sweatpants.
Ooh.
And you can get a nice warm hoodie.
Woo-woo.
And you could be all matchy-matchy if you want, or you could mix and match.
But it's getting cold. Like, we were saying, like, I've been getting up earlier lately, and it is kind of chilly
it's cold
in the mornings, man.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So go pick up one of those. We've got all good different sizes. Go to storefrontier.com/Roshambeaux. Mm-hmm. We're excited about it. We also have a special Halloween design that we bring back every year. Mm-hmm. It's like a moon, but it's got like little anime me and Kyle on it. Mm-hmm. I think they're cute.
Yeah. So that will only be available this month, and then those will go away. But we'll have hoodies for, till it gets
Kyle
warm.
did do a thing, Rico. He made the what do you call it? The bumper.
The bumper?
Yeah, that's what it's called.
Oh, that's like the little display thing?
Yeah, the little card.
Like
it's called a bumper.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's called a bumper.
A bumper.
Yeah.
Why is it called a bumper?
I don't know. Because you stop at it and then you go to the next thing.
Oh, it's like bump. Like, here's a new...
Maybe. So you stop at it.
Yeah, like you stop
and
and
you go. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I just thought it was like but thumbnail is like, that's the beginning of your video.
That's what, like,
the thumbnail.
The cover.
Okay, so but when you have a thumbnail interjected in your video, it's called a bumper.
Yeah. Or an image.
Yeah, but like, that's image, like, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, what's our final thoughts?
I learned a lot looking at this stuff. Like, I thought, like, I know all this stuff.
Sure.
And everybody knows all this stuff. But yeah, like...
I didn't know about the disease thing with
the polyphyria thing.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
And the Pitt Hopkins thing, too.
I never even heard of that.
the Pitt Hopkins thing is kind of like close to my heart. I kind of went like, oh, like had this moment of like, wow, there's probably a bunch of people like really mistreated because they didn't understand what was
well,
going
that's just
on.
humans.
Yeah.
We're a lot better off now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, we've been doing that kind of stuff forever. I mean, we're still doing it today. Don't get me wrong, but
yeah, but it's a lot better now than it used to be.
Rubber baby buggy bumper. It's exactly what it is. It's exactly what that is. But I thought a lot of it was interesting. I didn't know about that, but I didn't know this vlog was gonna be so freaking boring. I almost fell asleep at least once.
Oh, but that's not the point. The point of this is to keep you awake.
I know.
The point of that's the whole reason why
I feel like I'm driving home from Pennsylvania. And you're not talking anymore.
We would get in the van and be like, "Hey, man, you gotta like research something. I gotta like learn something.
Yeah.
We gotta talk about something."
Next time, we're not looking this up.
I don't know. I'd fun.
No, that's fine. That's fine. That's cool. Let's see here. Sherry says, could do one on McCamey Manor. All right, Kyle, you want to write that down? That's an idea to look up.
Write down McCamey Manor.
Spider-Man says you should do the Oogie Boogie Man from The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Well, you just go watch the movie though.
Go watch that. Let's see here. It's okay, Rico. No problem that you're late, man. We're just glad that you're here, man. I was late.
Yeah.
What are
you gonna do?
Luckily, it ended up happening. That way, I wasn't concerned about having another one. Don't. No. But yeah. Before we get to our wrap up here, remember to go check out Patreon. Again, I'm going to be posting up a post over there to let you guys fill you in on what's going on. And we've just finished the song for the new cover. We're going to be shooting that video hopefully this coming next week and get that up as soon as possible. It turned out pretty interesting.
It took a turn, but I really liked where it turned because I thought, we don't want to give anything away, but I thought it was going to be like a certain way.
Yeah.
We talked about it.
But then it just didn't.
And it was like, I don't know. And then you're like, well, what if I do this? And I was like, yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, so it's a whole different kind of thing. But I hope you guys like it. I think it's going to be rad. But even for as little as $1 a month, man, goes a long way. And also, thanks to everyone that made it here to the end. You know what I'm saying? Rico, you were late. But look,
you're here.
You're here.
Yeah.
You're here at the end. This is where we get to say, hey,
we like you.
We like you. Thanks for being here. You guys are awesome. Can't wait to see you guys again soon. We are doing more shows as everything's going. We're going to be going into fall. We're going to have a few things going on. We're going to hit winter, but like by next spring, we're going to be hitting it pretty good.
Yeah, that is kind of plan. I heard like this winter's supposed to be crazy.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. But yeah, definitely. It feels good to be back on the road.
Yeah.
But it's still cool to like be able to do this too, and like have your online thing, have your in-person thing, and I dig it.
You have your like I'm tired thing. It is better late than never, Rico.
Yes.
But we just as a reminder, we are in Alabama this Saturday, and later this month we're going to be doing a thing in Dahlonega in the parking lot there. So we're going to be trying to do the full thing out there as long as it doesn't rain.
Yeah.
If there's any kind of like risk of rain, we'd rather have the small stuff so
it all kind of is compacted.
Yeah, it's not like an issue of like trying to like save our livelihood because of rain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think like, stuff would be more waterproof.
It's not.
With like just like of all the technology we have, you think you could make like amplifiers be like submergible.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You probably can, but like they're already expensive as they are, man. Imagine if they had to like
so
do that. That'd be awful.
I had this friend that
look at our phones. We drop our phones once and they shatter.
He had he had this drill. He was working on he was building a deck like that goes out over a lake, and he was like, I've dropped one of these an impact drill in a lake before and it ruined it. So he like sprayed it down with like this waterproofing stuff and just like sprayed it and it like completely ruined it.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, we're gonna waterproof this. And it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be this innovative thing, and it just ruined it.
So, real quick question I wanted to ask here at the end. 'Cause we've got like a minute or two. Have you guys figured out what you're gonna be for Halloween? And if so, we would love to know. Like, what are you gonna be, Kyle?
I think I'm gonna try to be Buckethead.
Yeah.
I think so.
What all does that costume entail?
Oh, it's so easy. You
Yeah.
need a white mask. You need a guitar.
Yeah.
And you need a KFC bucket of chicken.
Right. Now you're not gonna be carrying around your expensive guitar.
No, but I might bring out my Ibanez Geo.
Oh, okay, there you go. Yeah, makes sense.
It looks cool.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound that great, but it looks really. It's a pretty guitar. You know?
Yeah. Have you found one of those white masks yet?
No, I haven't. But I know like you can just order one.
Right.
That's probably just what I'll do.
Yeah, most of my costume is gonna be stuff I already have. I did get like the custom fangs.
I saw those. Those in
Yeah.
your pic this week.
Yeah. They're pretty cool.
That's kind of cool.
You like put this like little gel stuff in there and you put them on there and it seals it. It's a little scary at first because you're like,
What if it never comes off?
yeah, what if it never comes off? But you put it on there and then like you pop them off after like 5 minutes and then like now they just kind of fit my teeth so they go over and they just kind of snap on.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. Let's see.
Does it make you
here.
talk funny?
A little. I had to get used to it.
Like a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I've got like bad redneck teeth anyway, so like my left one kind of goes in. I mean, they're not that bad.
No.
But like the left one's a little weird, but the right one's like spot on.
I know.
I already have.
I know. Like I have pretty
kinda
good
have
teeth,
fangs
but I
anyway.
have one that's like weird. I can't remember what video it was, but it was like that. Like one out of place tooth was very featured.
Right. Let's see. Your Spider-Man says Percy Jackson for Halloween.
Okay.
All right. Sherry says, I'm going to try to make it to the Dahlonega show, but I have an investigation in Blue Ridge at the Chastain house on the 28th.
Oh, is that like relation to you?
I don't know. Be cool. You know, Chastain, I believe it means chestnut tree.
Okay.
So we had trees.
We're like chestnut farmers.
I don't know.
You're not a farmer though. What is it like? When you only deal with like harvesting fruit from trees, isn't that like a specific word?
Harvester.
You're a harvester.
Maybe.
You're an apple
Harvester.
picker. I'm a chestnut. Come from a long line of chestnut pickers.
Yeah. All right. Rico Babe, he says, I'm going to be a bearded clam.
There you go.
That's a pretty good one. You got the beard. Not sure what I'll do about the clam. My wing it.
He's gonna wing it.
He's going to wing it. Yeah.
Maybe you just get like a pearl.
May wing it.
That you put like right here.
Right. Or you get like some tin foil and make the shell thing. And then put like a pearl right here.
Oh, that would be so cool.
Bearded clam.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah. Whole thing. So you are going as Jay. Nice. Yeah, pretty much. I am a bearded clam. Cherry picker is another good one. Hey, there it is. All right, well, that's going to do it for us, you guys. Thank you so much again for tuning in. We hope that your investigation goes really well, Sherry. You're going to have to take pictures, make sure you share that. I'd love to see all that stuff. I would definitely want to hear about it. But thanks for being here. Thanks for listening to our boring-ass story where we almost fell asleep, and you guys probably fell asleep.
That's 3 boring stories now. 3.
There's 3 of them.
3.
3 of them. With pictures that you weren't looking at because your eyes were closed.
Hey, but like, man, like I do that a lot. Like I'll listen to like audiobooks to go to sleep.
Yeah.
And I'll like pick something really boring.
Yeah.
And it's just this guy.
It always has to be something that I've already heard or something.
Yeah.
If it's something I haven't
if you
heard.
want to stay up.
Yeah.
You know what? I found it on Spotify, and it was actually I've been listening to it.
See, I was like in this whole wrap up.
Oh well, this will be really quick.
Okay.
It's they took all of the Lord of the Rings books, and it's just one guy that does it, but he like acts them out, and he does the voices, and it's awesome. And I can't remember the name of it, but it's on Spotify, and it's like, it's really good. It's really good. If you like Lord of the Rings.
See, that's why I was
like
boring today. Do you hear these stories he has today? God. Anyway, we love you guys so much. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you not next Thursday, but the next Thursday. We're definitely going to be